Germany was regarded as the Allies' main opponent in Europe. But it was by no means the only opponent. In addition to smaller states such as Hungary and Romania, Italy was also a member of the Axis powers. However, unlike Germany or Austria, for example, Italy was not divided up after the Second World War and there were no occupation zones. So after looking at why Japan escaped partition in the last video, today we want to look at why Italy was not partitioned after the Second World War, even though it was one of Hitler's most important allies. Mussolini was considered a close ally of Hitler from the very beginning, so it was no great surprise that Italy joined the war on the side of the Axis powers in June 1 year after the start of the war. France was about to fall and it looked as if Germany would soon win the war. The Italians were primarily seeking to gain territory in Africa, the Balkans and Greece. However, it became clear from the outset that Italy had greatly overestimated its capabilities and that the army was very ineffective compared to the German Wehrmacht. The Italians suffered catastrophic defeats in both Albania and North Africa and would probably not have won any victories at all without strong German support. And so the Allies very quickly identified Italy as the Axis powers' greatest weakness and a large number of troops were prepared for the fight against the Italians. And the plan worked. The Allies initially worked their way into North Africa piece by piece and were able to crush the Italian troops there, so that Italy's North African forces capitulated in May of the year 1943. And this important victory was to form the starting point for the invasion of Italy. The morale of the Italian troops was at an all-time low due to the continuing defeats and many saw no real point in the war. Operation Husky, the Allied landing on Sicily, was a complete success. And shortly afterwards, the Allies were able to regain a foothold on the European mainland for the first time with the conquest of southern Italy. Due to the low morale and poor equipment of the Italian troops, it was now almost exclusively the Germans who were defending Italy. Shortly after the conquest of Sicily, Mussolini was ousted from power and the new Italian leadership immediately began secret armistice talks with the Allies. This led to secret negotiations in Portugal and the Vatican, in which the Italians not only offered to surrender, but also wanted to actively engage on the side of the Allies. The Allies accepted this and so Italy switched sides and declared war on its former ally Germany on October 13. And the Italian troops certainly played an important role in the reconquest of Italy, as they naturally knew their homeland better than anyone else. Nevertheless, the war in Italy lasted until the 2nd of May in the year 1945, when the German army in Italy surrendered. The Italian campaign therefore lasted almost until the end of the Second World War, which was marked by the surrender of the Wehrmacht on the 8th of May. After the war, there were also purges of Nazi Germany's supporters in Italy and the Allies campaigned for democracy to prevail, but there was no real occupation as in Germany. The Italian king was finally deposed and the Italian Republic was founded. 2 years after the end of the war, an official peace treaty was signed between Italy and the Allies. Italy had to hand over the conquests of the Second World War, but was allowed to keep former possessions such as South Tyrol. And it was subsequently also generously supported by the United States, which enabled the country to be quickly rebuilt. In return, the Communists were pushed out of politics, as the Americans regarded Italy as an important bulwark in the Cold War and wanted to prevent any influence from the Soviet Union. Italy was ultimately lucky that it was the first Axis power to be defeated by the Allies and switched to the side of the victors before the end of the war. After the end of the war, there was no longer any real talk of Italy as an Axis power, as the focus was on the occupation and demilitarization of Germany. In addition, the Soviet Union had no part in the conquest of Italy, which is why the system of occupation zones would not have made any real sense. The British and Americans were mostly on the same side and the French had no real part in the Italian campaign. In addition, the Cold War led to the Americans building up allies against the Soviet Union as quickly as possible and Italy played an important role in this due to its strategic position in the Mediterranean.